Hello, I'm Andrew Thomson with you tonight. Michael Serapio is away on assignment. The U.S. president says it's not appropriate to get involved in Canada's election. Still, Donald Trump is back on the campaign radar, the president threatening even higher auto tariffs, and again floating the 51st state idea, an idea he also raised in last month's phone call with Mark Carney. Now, at the time, Carney said Trump respected Canadian sovereignty. Here's what the Liberal leader is saying today.
Yes or no, did Mr. Trump bring up the 51st state in his call with you?
I said that he did. Him raising something, and then where the discussion is. He has these things in his mind. This is not news. He raises it all the time, okay? But then the question is, what's going to be done with it? And does he understand where we stand, more particularly where I stand? He is under no illusions. Never, absolutely not, never. Move on. It's two sovereign nations coming together, negotiating our partnership, our relationship.
Now, even before Mark Carney spoke those words, the other party leaders were criticizing his portrayal of that March phone call with the U.S. president. Take a look.
Well, that's a question for Mr. Carney to answer. I wasn't there. But what's clear is we will stand up for our sovereignty. We will never be an American state.
Canadians are wondering, well, what else is going to happen? If he's not going to tell us about a phone call, what about the details of the negotiation? And what about what he's willing to trade away?
Just the show of a man who wanted to pretend something which appears today not to be true. I believe many people in Canada and in Quebec will say, what the hell is that? And if that is not true, what else is not true?
All right, well, let's bring in our political strategists for their take. Susan Smith is a former Liberal strategist, co-founder and principal at Blue Sky Strategy Group. Jordan Paquet is vice president at Blue Sky and a former Conservative strategist. And George Soule is former director of communications for the NDP. Good to see all three of you here once again. So we have the Liberal leader facing a lot of questions about that March phone call with the president, eventually saying that, yes, Donald Trump did raise the 51st state idea. So, Susan, we saw the other leaders all criticizing Mark Carney on this, saying he's not being straight with Canadians. Do you think this could become an issue for Mark Carney during the final days of this campaign?
No, I think Mr. Blanchette's language was the best as it applies to this entire discussion today. What the hell is this all about? I mean, this is insanity to me. Carney spoke to Trump. They discussed broad principles. There was a broad readout. Mr. Carney, Prime Minister Carney said that Mr. Trump respected the sovereignty of Canada. Yesterday, Mr. Trump was talking again about Canada as the 51st state, and the Oval Office talking again about raising tariffs. And so that is the key issue. I don't know what the other leaders are sort of on and on about. It's clear Mr. Carney and Prime Minister Carney said, no way, never. Canada will never be the 51st state, and it's clear that he set the table for a negotiation post-election with President Trump. That's the only issue. In my view, the opposition leaders are trying to insert themselves into the ballot question, which at the moment favors Prime Minister Carney.
Okay, Jordan, weigh in on this. What do you think of how the leaders are reacting to this and this notion that Mr. Carney is being clear with the answer that he gave today?
Sure. I think he was certainly a little awkward and uncomfortable today. It's been a while since we've seen him sort of in that rattled phase, answering questions from the media. Several reporters kind of went at him quite hard because it was something a little bit different than what he said previously. He said, oh, no, in that phone call, Donald Trump didn't threaten our sovereignty. No, that didn't happen. He respects me, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Putting that aside, when the Liberals are talking about this issue, that's the issue that they want to be talking about. I think they have gotten a little nervous because the ballot question has shifted more towards the issue of change and who best can bring change to Canada after 10 years of Liberal government. The Liberals don't want to talk about that. They want to continue to fearmonger about Donald Trump.
What do you think about this, George? Is it good for the Liberals to have this as an issue, even though Mr. Carney's being criticized? The very fact that Canada-U.S. relations back on the table more as an issue, President Trump talking about Canada again. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, for sure. I think that, Mr. Carney's best days are always the days that we're talking about Trump and where he gets to be prime minister rather than a candidate because he's still getting used to the political games. I have here, just to be clear about what was asked. On the 28th, after the call, he was asked, did he call us the 51st state? And Mr. Carney didn't answer. He just went on to say, this is a call between two leaders, their respective governments between two sovereign nations. He was asked again, strictly for a yes or no question, and he said the president respected Canada's sovereignty today, both in private and public comments.
Yeah.
So, but when you let him say we're the 51st state, he's clearly not respecting our sovereign nation or our sovereignty in that conversation. What I don't understand about this is, I mean, first of all, I agree. Like, what else is he hiding? Because it could have been easy. Yet clearly, what he wanted to do, he wanted his position to be able to say, "Look, I'm having responsible conversation with Donald Trump." He could have said, "You know what? He tried that 51st state stuff. I told him to go shove it." And then after that, we had a really strong collegial conversation. Donald Trump's tweet after that said, like, he called him the prime minister. The whole narrative would have been fine, but Carney, clearly intentionally, because you can hear in those questions, he was specifically asked about the 51st state question and chose not to answer. He left that out. And it's important when we're talking about conversations with the president and what else we're going to negotiate and give and take on.
Yes, Susan, why not just say at the time, at the end of March, this is what happened, this is what was said?
I think the Prime Minister was taking the high road, whether you go line by line from a conversational thing. He didn't address it specifically there, but he said that the President respected Canada's sovereignty, and we're going to move on to a NAFTA negotiation or a USMCA negotiation after the outcome of the election. I think this is Jagmeet Singh and the NDP trying to insert themselves desperately into the conversation in the final bit of the campaign. And the same thing applies to Mr. Poilievre, because when the question is about who is best to negotiate with Donald Trump, who's got the best plan to protect Canada's economy, build it in a new direction in the face of Trump and tariffs, and also while negotiations are going on, Mark Carney clearly has the confidence of the Canadian people in that. So this is why it's like a tempest in a teapot for me. I don't even really understand what the fuss is about. I really think Canadian voters are going to be equally as confused, and just boil it right down to, on Monday morning when they go to the ballot box, Trump, he's barking again about 51st state. He's barking again about auto tariffs. He's barking again about other tariffs. Who's the guy, because it's going to be a guy, that's best positioned to lead us in dealing with Trump? And despite what Mr. Singh would want, that isn't going to be a public negotiation anyway. Everybody at this table knows give and take in a negotiation, successful negotiation, happens behind the doors, and the broad stroke stuff gets discovered.
Just really quickly, she's right. Absolutely. Whenever asked who's best to negotiate with Trump, Mark Carney wins that poll. Absolutely. That's where we're at right now in this situation, which is why none of the opposition parties would have brought this up. This came out through the media. None of us want to talk about Trump, because every time we say Trump, Mark Carney's numbers go up, and he's been quiet for a while. This came out. It benefits the Liberals to be able to talk about Trump. And the only question is, why, when asked specifically, did the president call us the 51st state, did the prime minister not say yes? He chose not to. After being asked, I had two examples. That whole press conference, if you go through the March 28th press conference, he gets asked over and over again, and he chose not tell the whole truth at the very least. And so that's important when we're talking about someone's going to negotiate.
Jordan
well, I think this is a matter of the Liberals trying to leak something, and it just kind of blew up in their face a little bit. Do I think this is going to torch their campaign? No, not at all. But it could remind some voters that are still on the fence about somebody that's new to politics that we have somebody who's had a little bit of a relationship with the truth, a little bit of troublesome relationship on certain issues. I'm not saying that we're lying, but like the issue about the Brookfield asset management, when that decision was made, all these other things, it just gets people to know they don't know who Mark Carney is, and issues like this could just help remind them, put some doubt back in their mind.
Okay, you mentioned the Conservative leader, Susan Smith, so let's talk about Pierre Poilievre now. Let's talk about Pierre and the race in Carleton, because we have these two stories coming out yesterday about the race in his own riding, suggesting that his own seat could be at risk after 21 years, that the party is sending more resources into that riding. Jordan, let me start with you. What are you hearing? Is this an actual risk where we could see a leader possibly losing his seat here?
No. He's very safe in Carleton. I'm not going to knock the reporting on anybody, because I'm sure they had some sources outside the campaign that said, "Oh, look at this, people are going into it." But no, Pierre's very safe in the Carleton riding. I mean, he's been there for a long, long time. He's there running as Prime Minister now. Having extra door knockers go out into ridings in the Ottawa area that are staffers is not a news story, really, in the greater scheme of things. I think if you look into Nepean, look at the number of former senior Liberal cabinet ministers, look at Mark Carney's spouse who's been out there, look at other senior Liberals who've been in that area the whole time. The exact same thing's happening. You have people in the area, you deploy them to where they have to go, but no, Pierre's very safe in his area.
Okay, Susan, weigh in on this. Do you think this is simply an effort to make the race in Pierre Poilievre's own riding look closer than it actually is?
I think it will be a close race in that riding. Bruce Fanjoy, who's the Liberal candidate, has been canvassing for 2 years solid. And there are a lot of, he's been raising money. I heard like $15,000 a day or over the weekend or something was coming in. Like big numbers were coming into the campaign. He's worked super hard. I think it will be a race. It will be one of the seats that we will all be watching on election night. I don't think it's a slam dunk for Mr. Poilievre. It would surprise me if he didn't win it. But I think there are many, many motivated voters. There's also that crazy long ballot in the riding there that you're going to have to hunt your way down to find your preferred candidate's name, and there could be some dilution there that could impact him.
I think that impacts anybody looking for an opposition vote, though, like quickly. Like if they're going to vote for somebody other than Pierre, they'll check off somebody else's name, not necessarily that, whereas the Conservative vote in that riding is very, very strong.
Well, George, we've also talked about the NDP leader and the risk he faces in his own riding of Burnaby Central. It seems we're talking more during this campaign compared to past campaigns about what the leaders face in their own ridings compared to what's going on nationally.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't buy that Pierre Poilievre's in trouble in his riding. I live in Nepean. I don't buy that Mr. Carney's in trouble there either. I think people go in there knowing the leaders' names and wanting to vote for them. You know, every year it is a bit tough for Jagmeet and his riding for sure, and obviously where our numbers are, it's challenging. But in the same way that we look at Nepean and Carleton and anywhere, like when riding polls hardly exist, and so people look at regions and try to spread them out and make that work. So we don't have accurate look at what's going on the ground. And I'll tell you, sure, there are a lot of people putting some work into Jagmeet's riding, and I'm hearing things are coming back quite well.
Okay, we have a moment left, so let's talk about the last days of the campaign, including the leaders' campaigns. You've all got experience working on campaigns, so I want to ask you very quickly, tell me what you are looking for over the next 72 hours as the leaders, as the parties make their closing arguments to Canadians. Jordan, let me go to you first.
It's just a day-to-day blitz of rallies, getting people out door knocking. The war rooms probably by tomorrow will start to clear out and empty. People will be deployed out to wherever possible, wherever there's close, tight ridings. Look for where the leaders are traveling to. In Mr. Pierre's case, he was in Nova Scotia. He's going to make a stop through Oakville this weekend. He's going back out to BC. So he's doing a blitz across the whole country, which is just designed to show some momentum for what is going to be a very, very tight race on Monday.
Okay, Susan, what should we expect from the Liberals?
Well, it's a mad sprint. There'll be a coast-to-coast travel, as usually happens, but I'm watching for the Liberals to go on offense. There are ridings that, Mr. Carney was in Trois-Rivières this week. That's not a riding that Liberals typically win. So I'm watching for where they go that aren't places that they hold seats, because I do think that this is where they have some confidence that they could take these seats in addition to it. So I think that's what you'll see, is where are they going? Some leaders will be saving the furniture, others will be looking to expand the rooms on the House, maybe.
Okay, George, last word to you. What will the NDP House look like over the next 3 days?
Well, quickly on going into other rooms, I mean, Mark Carney's not necessarily focused on defeating Conservatives. He's spent a lot of time on the island recently trying to go after some strong progressive women who are New Democrats there. So that's an interesting strategy when Liberals pretend they're against the Conservatives, but they really run after the progressives. Jagmeet has been pretty open about this. I mean, there's no lying about where our numbers are at, reminding folks, and he's going to go to specific places and remind folks that if you want to defeat the Conservatives in these ridings and you have a New Democrat incumbent, then vote for that New Democrat, and they'll go and deliver some results for you. Okay, we're certainly watching between now and Monday. George, Susan, Jordan, thank you so much, as always.
Andrew.
Thanks
Thank
so much.
you.